58, the debate, starting at verse 7. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Verse 7, God is with you now. Do you not realize that God knows everything in the heavens and everything on earth? No three people can conspire secretly without him being their fourth, nor five without him being the sixth, nor less than that, nor more, without him being there with them wherever they may be. Then on the day of resurrection, he will inform them of everything they had done. God is fully aware of all things. So yeah, this verse is letting us know that our Lord is with us, with everybody, not just submitters, but the difference is submitters to God alone are going to think about this stuff, and it'll help them, through the day, whether if they're faced with some fear or some type of situation, good or bad, or bad, or maybe we don't look at situations as bad, but in the sense of like if the situation is, like trying or something, we'll remember this for our own good, and it'll help us to make God our God. So, and no one can conspire secretly without God and recorders, the angels being there with them, documenting everything that is done and said. And it's the highest. We can kind of get an idea in the worldly terms, because we can think about the technology we have, like video cameras, microphones, lenses, multiple cameras from different directions, but it's much more than that. Everything is like the verse says, God's gonna inform everybody of everything that they've done, and that He's fully aware of all things. So what's happening right here, right now, as well as what's happening with anybody and everybody around you, and in another country or another continent or another state. So this is good for us to keep in mind. That how God is with us, whether we're driving or even if we're alone. We're not really alone. If we remember this. Do not conspire. Have you noted those who were enjoined from conspiring secretly that insist on conspiring? They conspire to commit sin, transgression, and disobedience of the messenger. When they come to you, they greet you with a greeting other than that decreed by God. They say inside themselves, God will not punish us for our utterances. Let me zoom in more. Okay, hopefully y'all can see better. Their requital is Jehannam, wherein they have burned. What a miserable destiny. So, conspiring is not good. It's different than the word confer in a sense. To conspire has like a negative connotation when you don't. If you're conspiring, it's something to conspire. So, 1 second. Sorry about that. But yeah, conspiring is you conspire to commit. When people conspire, it's something bad. They conspire to commit sin, transgression, and disobedience of the messenger, and anything to do with God. And I don't want to get into semantics here, but perhaps conspire can be maybe used in a positive sense, just like how scheme, there's good schemes, bad schemes, but in a sense it's better, like if we don't say we're conspiring. We'll get to the next verse about conferring. So it says, "Oh, you who believe, if you have to confer secretly. You shall not confer to commit sin, transgression, and to disobey the messenger. You shall confer to work righteousness and piety. You shall reverence God, before whom you will be summoned. So, this is obviously going to be a trait of disbelievers, hypocrites, idol worshippers, and I say hypocrites because whether they know they're doing it or not, they might think they're doing good, but if they're even if they appear to be numerous, right, or they appear to be righteous or large in number, or even call themselves submitters, but secretly behind closed doors they're scheming against other submitters unjustly, unrighteously, and God is witness to all this. Because if you think about how these verses are placed, subhanAllah, we know mathematically every single verse, especially with looking at that 12,000, I think 390 or 930 long digit number. The way it's laid out, this, right, 7 and 8 and everything, all the every geometrical value of these words and letters are all placed specifically. So with that said, it's good to keep that in mind, so we know everything where it's placed, and how it's being delivered by God is for a good reason, because we can see that God is with everybody, and so and He's witness to any scheming or conspiring that the disbelievers do, and they do this because they don't think that anybody's watching them. And it's interesting to see. It's really interesting to see, because in a sense, like, they're bearing witness. They're saying God will not punish us for our utterances. So in a sense, they maybe subconsciously they might think this, or that they because if they're saying this, they believe in God, but maybe they're misled by wishful thinking. But to even think like this is very bad. But and also, the verse where it says, when they come to you, they greet you with a greeting other than that decreed by God. So God tells us how we should greet each other in the best possible manner, with peace be upon you, salam alaikum, and perhaps these people they don't follow how God tells us, other than decreed by God. And it's not that if God tells us, like, this is the best way, there's mathematical reasoning and code behind this stuff too. It's not just who knows better than the Lord of the universe, so we don't question this stuff. We don't think we know better, or we don't start innovating and greeting people like in just silly ways, or like vastly different ways, which I'm sure we've seen. I don't know if I've seen it too much, but we're given an example in this Quran, and we see how the messenger goes over these matters. But moving on, secret conspiracy is the devil's idea through which he seeks to hurt those who believe. However, he cannot hurt them against God's will. In God, the believer shall trust. So, thank God. I just one second. Yeah, in God the believer shall trust, and this is something we have to really think about, and realize and understand that unless you have something righteous to discuss, or something good, there's no reason to engage in, like, secret conspiracy. The only reason for secret conspiracy is to commit evil, in the sense of how these people do it. But it's not to say, like, when you're, like, for example, if you're carrying out a good plan or fighting in the cause of God, and it doesn't just have to be like physically fighting like it had been for many years. Today we could have those same opportunities, and we do. and we come up with ideas and plans and stuff in private or publicly. So, but we realize that those who put their trust in God, the devil can never hurt us. But it's the devil or Satan's idea, and through his advocates, be it humans or jinns, where he tries to afflict, those who believe. But nothing can override the will of God. So this should be very reassuring for us. And this type of these things, I believe, we're told and we've seen it for ourselves. These types of tests and situations do come up, and it wasn't just. It's in the Quran, and we were sent a messenger for our generation and the future generations. The majority of people that are gonna live on this earth are gonna witness this stuff, because it's all applicable. It's in the same. It might the times we live in are different, but all this stuff, we have to keep this in mind. Because we do have good precedents too, all through the Quran that can help us. Oh, you believe, if you're told, please make room, you shall make room for each other to sit. God will then make room for you. If you're asked to get up and move, get up and move. Yeah. God raises those among you who believe and those who acquire knowledge to higher ranks. God is fully cognizant of everything you do. Oh, you believe, when you wish to confer with the messenger, you shall offer a charity to the poor. Before you do so, this is better for you and purer. If you cannot afford it, then God is forgiver, most merciful. So, just looking back on this verse, this is common courtesy too, but it's also pointed out to us in the Quran. So, we know the right manners and etiquette and stuff, and naturally, this should be like kind of ingrained in us, like once we become submitters, even if it was a matter that was, let's say, at work or something, you're in an office meeting, but God is running everything. So if someone asks you to get up and move, it's best to there's a good reason for it. Even if you may not understand the reason. It's funny because this actually happened in a mosque, I think, in Los Angeles. So, I don't know if I told Brother Suleiman about it, but and then someone had asked me, and I just quickly just moved to where they were pointing or something, and then I think the person who gave the sermon went on like on some rant or something. Not a rant, but I think Brother Suleiman's aware of this individual, and was just made that the topic of the sermon, and like how it was kind of silly, but ridiculous in a way. But I don't want to get into that. But yeah, what God has running everything. So the other rest of the verse says, God raises those among you who believe and those who acquire knowledge to higher ranks. God is fully cognizant of everything you do. So, this is why I think we should, constantly read the Quran, study the Quran, especially study the mathematical miracle, and be well informed, so we can grow our soul more. We can be better advocates for the truth, right? And this is for our own benefit. And so we read this verse about, these are things we should do before conferring with the messenger. Now, if you can't afford it, you can obviously let's see. If you cannot afford it, God is forgiver, most merciful. But thank God. There's always a way. God doesn't make the religion hard. He makes it very easy. I think we read in the last study about for those who estrange their wives, in that manner. As we talked about last study, there's ways for, if they're not able to fast for 2 months, consecutive months, they can substitute by feeding 60 poor people. And I think if that's an issue, or somehow they can't do that, I think they can free a slave, or I'm not sure about the order, but we can thank God because it's very straightforward and elucidated, because we're not left wondering, what happens in this situation, or should I do this? Like, God tells us these things are very straightforward, and it's something to really be grateful about, because we're not left wondering, well, how do I do this? Or, people may have had questions about this in the past, but God clarifies and tells us everything we need to know is in this scripture. So we should be appreciative for it and not turn to other sources, because that's being, I think, greedy, or unappreciative is probably a more accurate word. When you turn to other sources for as a source of religious guidance, or to uphold, traditions. If you fail to give to charity before conferring, then repented thereafter, God accepts your repentance. You shall observe the contact prayer, Salah. Give the obligatory charity, Zakah, and obey God and His messenger. God is fully cognizant of everything you do. Choose your friends. Have you noted those who befriended people with whom God is angry? They neither belong with you nor with Him. They deliberately swear lies. God has prepared for them a severe retribution. Miserable indeed is what they used to do. They use their oaths as a means of repelling from the path of God. Consequently, they have incurred a shameful retribution. Are y'all able to hear everything okay? Okay, Brother Raphael said yes. Okay, mashallah. So choose your friends, this is super important. And, this would also apply to, it pretty much applies to anyone and everyone, even at work, if you're acquaintances with somebody, a coworker, and then y'all get closer and stuff. It's a good opportunity for you to, talk about the messages and the proofs and stuff. But at the same time, if you if you come to see who these people are, or if they're, people who deliberately swear lies, or anybody, it doesn't have to be people at work. It's any friend or person we interact with, in the sense that we interact with frequently, and so these are things we can look out for. If they're doing these things, like using their oaths as a means of repelling from the path of God, and you see this too, and not just maybe on a personal level, but I've witnessed this stuff from religious teachers, both in person. You see them online, how they swear. They use their oaths. They abuse their oaths. So we don't want to be with these people, because essentially, God tells us where these people, what a disbeliever's destiny is, and what idol worshiper's destiny is, and it's after when they profess their disbelief, or hypocrisy becomes known, or idolatry, and they're completely, in the sense where they've professed it, and they're sticking to their guns, and they're essentially running towards hell. That's when we should protect ourselves and not have to do anything with these people. And despite, how rich they may be, it's not going to help them. So neither their money nor their children will help them against God. They have incurred the hellfire wherein they abide forever. The day will come when God resurrects them all. They will swear to Him then, just as they swear to you now, thinking that they're really right. Indeed, they're the real liars. So this should be like alarming, I guess, in a way, because I mean, there's these people. God is telling us about these people, and we know that their money. There's not going to be any money or nepotism. Your family's not going to be able to save you. Your family can't help you. There's no intercession, because that would. There's not going to be any intercession of money. I mean, if you think there's people that think like this too, and it's real interesting because it's like, I mean, money doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's just we know this life is an illusion, and so I mean, money or cash, it's like the debit card or even metal, rare earth metals and stuff, gold, silver, and stuff. I mean, how do these, it's interesting to wonder how these people equate or come up with this stuff, like how they think it's actually going to they're actually going to be able to buy their way out. But, we're seeing what's going to happen to them. They're going to swear to God, just as they swear to the people now, thinking that they're really right, so, the people, these are the real liars, and we have to, these are the people we don't want to befriend, lest we become like them. And it would be arrogance and egotistical on our part to think we could befriend such people and that we wouldn't fall victim or we wouldn't go astray by their leave, because like there's people that really think like that, or I think I've heard some submitters that think maybe they're so tough or they're so smart or so wise in a sense. They won't say this, but you can see this is what's ingrained in their thought process, that they can hang around such people when God is telling us obviously, like, look, no, you're not supposed to be with such people, because why would you want to be with these people anyway? And we have to remember that the devil is extremely clever and tricky, and so to think we're special in the sense how we could resist becoming like these people that God is telling us about, and that God is angry with, it would really just be arrogance or foolishness on our part. And of course we don't think like that, but it's good to talk about it, really good to talk about it, lest that we're aware of these things and we don't, we could catch ourselves, or so the devil whispers or something. We don't think like that, but it's good to talk about these things just to have awareness about them. May God protect us. Verse 19, the devil has possessed them and has caused them to disregard God's message. These are the party of the devil. Absolutely the party of the devil are the losers. Surely those who oppose God and his messenger will be with the lowliest. Sorry, I had to crank that. But yeah, so these, we don't want to be with the party of the devil. And, the obvious, it's an obvious thing. Nobody wants to, but in the sense where we don't see, we're confined to this dimension and we're in these bodies and stuff, and we can't see, the contents of the soul. We can't see what's going on in the hidden, dimensions and unseen, for a good reason too. But, we know these people because God tells them these are the people that have gotten the message and they've disregarded it, right? And God is fully aware of these people, so, it's not to say, you write somebody off, but God knows what their destiny is. We don't know our destinies in the sense like when they're in our test, but when, it's to explain to people who have had trouble understanding this, because God knows what's going to happen, so he knows where we're going to end up. So in that sense, for these people, God knows them, even though we may not know them, and this is why we're being told about them, to be able to distinguish. You have to be able to look at this information that God is telling us, because it's life-saving if you really think about it. I mean, even in other philosophical teachings or religion, which are very like convoluted with a lot of misinformation or falsehood, there's still like bits and pieces of truth, like we've heard from the beginning of time, or not beginning of time, but like choose your friends wisely, be around good company, a bad apple spoils. So, and this stuff, is talked about plentiful in the Quran. So, because personally, I guess it's really important to me, because the amount of people I've come across or met, like in the sense of, we all have, but like the amount of people you interact with, and you think about every interaction is recorded, and like, can I do this better or give the message this? I just had like a good, I think an okay one where I could, say I did good on my part, I think, yesterday, but, it's something to think about, because, breaking any of these commandments, is gonna set us up for, is gonna set us up for failure, so, we know who the real victors are. It's always gonna be God and His messenger. So, verse 21 says, God has decreed, I and my messengers will most assuredly win. God is powerful, almighty. Or did I read this? Let me, in case I forgot to read this verse. Surely those who oppose God and His messenger will be with the lowliest. God has decreed, I and my messengers will most assuredly win. God is powerful, almighty. So here's a really important verse. Run for your life. You will not find people who believe in God in the last day befriending those who oppose God and His messenger, even if they were their parents, their children, or their siblings, or their tribe. For these He decrees faith into their hearts and supports them with inspiration from Him, and admits them into gardens with flowing streams wherein they abide forever. God is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Him. These are the party of God. Most assuredly, God's party are the winners. So we want to be with the party of God. We want to be with those who advocate for the truth, advocate for God, advocate for the messenger, believes in God in the last day. And you'll know them by their works, as we're told in the Quran, as we've been told in all the scriptures. You know a tree by its fruits. And this is what makes it difficult sometimes, because if somebody's claiming to believe, but their actions in their life tell you otherwise, we need to be able to look at that and make a distinguishment for our own sake, and it's not to say, to like write these people off, because, they could come around, but in the sense of the criteria we've been given, the information, the information and the truth that's been given to God, this is extremely important. So just like, if you would run for your life if you saw, some monster coming after you, or some animal or something that could devour you. In the same sense, yeah, we have to have that same mindset, and even more so because in this, because it's for eternity. Our soul, our the life of our soul. Where it ends up. So, because because if you end up being with these people, sitting with them or supporting them in any way, after they've rejected the message and they've professed their disbelief, or they're just as hopeless. Like, and I forget what sir it is. They're just as hopeless as the disbelievers who are already in the grave. That's the losing side. So because we're told here, God and His messenger, the truth, is going to prevail. So and we're not just on this side either. We're not just like doing this because it's the winning side. That's just, not to get too deep into that, but like we're doing it because we love God and we love the truth, and the truth we know the truth to be right. All the good things, righteousness, piety, love, kindness, humbleness, peace, happiness. I mean, God be glorified. All these things are good versus wickedness, transgression, and I think it's in maybe Surah 52, or I forget one of the other surahs, or Luqman. How these the latter is repulsive to the submitter. So we all at some point, this is going to be a test. It's a mandatory test. I think in Surah 9 we're told about the mandatory test, and then it also cites a footnote, I believe, one of those, if that's the right one, citing Surah 58 verse 22 about this distinction. So it's important not to make any hasty decisions, but also don't be lax in the sense of making a clear drawing the line and making the right decision, with whether it's your family, your friends, or anything. I mean, we're even told, there's a messenger was teaching out the Quran, and he said, we shouldn't be befriending or being buddies with people, idol worshippers, unless they I forget how he said it, but until they believe in God, it's not in our best interest. I mean, we can associate with them, be amicable towards them. We definitely always, with people, because that sets a good example, and people will see that and be like, oh, this person is good. Like, maybe generally it sparks interest, and that's why we should treat people in the best possible manner, because that's, in a sense, we're advocates for submission. And so people who are abusive, people who are bad, people who are roam the earth arrogantly, or striving to divert people, and they refer to themselves as submitters, it's the same deadly trap that the Muslims originally fell into. They repulse the people from the truth, and they could be responsible, for these people's sins who have maybe come into submission and they get turned away because they see something, some innovation being promoted, and be like, oh, but God is running everything. God's in control of the guidance. So, but we have to do our part, so that's just keeping that in mind. So we'll kind of speed up here, God willing. Surah 59, Exodus, Al-Hashr, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Glorifying God is everything in the heavens and the earth, and He is the Almighty, most wise. So that's every atom, and that's smaller. I mean, everything. It's a testament to God's. Its very existence is a testament to a Creator, the Most High. God defends the believers. He is the one who evicted those who disbelieved among the people of the Scripture from their homes in a mass exodus or exodus. I think I've always called it Exodus from the words of the Bible, but it might be Exodus. You never thought that they would leave, and they thought that their preparations would protect them from God. But then God came to them once they never expected, and threw terror into their hearts. Thus they abandoned their homes on their own volition, in addition to pressure from the believers. You should learn from this, O you who possess vision. So yeah, we're given an example about, people from the previous, among people of the Scripture. So I'm guessing it could have been previous scriptures, or I guess it wouldn't at the time. It wouldn't be the Quran, because it was coming into the world, So these are probably people that enemies, enemies of the Quran and the revelation and the believing men and submitting men and women at the time. This is a good thing to learn from, that God, this is easy for God to do, and So God is always with the believers, those who strive. So, we're told if God did not force them to leave, he would have requited them in this life even worse than forcing them to leave. In the hereafter, he will commit them to the retribution of hell. This is because they oppose God and his messenger. For those who oppose God and his messenger, God is most strict in enforcing retribution. So the enemies of God, the opposition is going to be met with, is going to be met with God's retribution, and it's because they're opposing the truth. They're fighting God, they're fighting his messengers, so naturally they're going to be punished. And this is what, really, once you see this stuff and you directly oppose it, you have to be really evil or to be an opponent. It's much different than someone who hasn't made up their mind, or someone that's learning, or someone that's confused. But for people who are fighting the believing men and women who are advocating righteousness, they're advocating good things and the best message, the truth, so it just showcases how bad these people are, and God protects the believers and punishes these people. And this was a situation that was witnessed. SubhanAllah. Whether you chop a tree or leave it standing on its trunk is accordance with God's will. He will surely humiliate the wicked. So this, God is running everything, and so even if we're thinking we're doing something, even me talking right now, it's like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm doing it, and I am. We of course have free will and choice, but it's kind of like the messenger said. It's much like the example he gave. So even the things I'm saying now or I'm about to say, like, God already knows, but he gave the example of the plane to New York and Los Angeles. But he did say it's much more than that, and it sheds a whole new light on submission, and keeping this in the forefront of our mind will help us to submit under all circumstances. Because when we see this and we realize this, we'll have no option other than to want to submit. Because who are we to argue or to go against or to really, when you object to something, we have to tell ourselves, even though it's kind of scary to think about it like that, when you look at it like you're almost challenging what God is doing, unknown. Most of the time it's unknowingly. That's where it's important, where God is running everything comes in. As I'm continuing learning and stuff and working on this, is you'll then see that you won't ever want to object, because you believe that God is doing it. So once we understand that, there's we're going to be happy with it. But when most people are, or if we're not remembering this and we start to object, we've probably forgotten or slipped up into attributing power to this person or this inanimate object. Like if a tree fell on the front of my engine bay, I might have wanted to get mad at the tree, but that's not the case. When you realize everything is in accordance with God's will, whether we decide to chop a tree or leave it standing, it's in accordance with God's will. So this is really good wisdom. Like we don't have this information anywhere else. We know it's we have the mathematical miracle, but just having a clarifying messenger and having such pure and beautiful truth, we can really appreciate what God is teaching us. Whatever God restored for his messenger was not the result of your war efforts, whether you fought on horse or on foot. God is the one who sends his messengers against whomever he wills. God is omnipotent. Spoils of war. Whatever God restored to his messenger from the defeated community shall go to God and his messenger in the form of a charity. You shall give to the relatives, the orphans, the poor, and the traveling aliens. Thus it will not be monopolized by the strong among you. You may keep the spoils given to you by the messenger, but do not take what he enjoins you from taking. You shall reverence God. God is strict in enforcing retribution. So God is most merciful, most gracious, but the Quran also tells us he's strict in enforcing retribution. He's the avenger. He's the most powerful. So keeping this in mind, alhamdulillah, it only makes sense all these perfect qualities and attributes belong to God. You can't think of anything better or that would make more sense. If I'm making sense right now, but just going over this verse and then we'll open for discussion. I like this. I like this. About this. We're told. Why it's not gonna. The charity that you're giving to the relatives and that you're dispersing out, you're distributing it. And in a sensible and wise and just way, thus it won't be monopolized or abused by those who are strong among you. So and we can keep the spoils given to you by the messenger, but do not exceed the limits. Don't take what enjoins you from taking. And God is witness to everything. So just keeping this in mind. This is alhamdulillah. But with that being said, God willing, if there's any comments or questions, please feel free. Thank you.
SubhanAllah, thank you, brother.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, thank you.
I don't think so, Brother Jaffer. He's very not smart, but he's extremely clever and sneaky and tricky. That's what I said, clever and tricky. Yeah, sneaky. Yeah, very insidiously clever in the sense I was just thinking about this. I think 2 days ago when I was I don't know. I was just thinking about different things and. Remembering this, because then you are going to be naturally more on guard when God tells us, he's our most ardent enemy. And then I think I was thinking, maybe I heard something about how the messenger referred to him as a terrible foe, or a really terrible foe as what, we're up against. So. MashaAllah, nice profile picture. I need to update mine. Yeah, he knows how to deal with humans. Yeah, it's funny you say that because right after I was thinking that, and I was just it makes sense because he's seen us, been able to study humans, and really every type of human too, different personalities, and for so many years. So he's got the cheat code or book or whatever analogy you want to give, the handbook or something.
Yeah, SubhanAllah, brother Jeffrey. That's what I was thinking too. They're in the audio also the messenger calls the devil stupid. We know he's stupid, but he's very he has tricks and tricky, and he's tricky, and you can see how so many people have are very stupid as well, and fall in that same and some type of trick, that yeah, that the devil has, you know, and I mean, yeah, he's very tricky. SubhanAllah, submitters, we must be careful and remember that God is doing everything. And SubhanAllah, just be very careful.
Yeah, clever. I mean, like Brother Jaffa shared a good message. They're used sometimes interchangeably, but like in the sense, you know, like how someone. I mean, we even have a few verses I'm thinking of off the top of my head, like how the person that is rescued by God, but then they attribute it to their cleverness or something, or how. But in a sense, like you know how the devil is clever, like in the sense of like being sneaky and very deceptive, and not to be, you know, not to underestimate him at all, you know, because smart more I think implies like you know, yeah, knows how to do right, very very capable, you know, very clever, very capable on leading people astray, like very knows what to baits to tack, you know, is knows what baits to tune or you know fix to people, what you know how to trick people, you know, very misleading. Brother H. Mardani said, you know, yeah.
SubhanAllah, you know, that's why God tells us, you know, to always remember Him. You know, the Quran, it's, you know, everything is telling us, you know, is to remember the God alone, you know, to remember God. And then He has verses in the Quran to say so we'll be protected from Satan, you know. And
Yeah,
SubhanAllah is for the best
mashallah.
thing. You know,
Yeah,
mashallah.
yeah, good. That's good. Good. Yeah, I've been like working on that, doing more like seeking refuge and stuff, and I think it like the last few days have been really extra good. I don't know if maybe it's all the music I've been
Mashallah,
listening
yeah,
to
that
from the
helps.
new album. I think that's part of it too, because like uh, I've been listening to that kind of around the clock at work in the gym and stuff.
Mashallah.
But yeah, it all adds up. But yeah,
Have you
brother.
listened? You listened to the one Reflections?
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
some really
that's
good ones. You know, like
that's the one.
the a time for and we thank you God, a prayer of thanks. You know,
Yeah, that was good too.
you
Subhanallah.
know,
That's some very good
and God is
songs.
running everything. I like that. But yeah, I mean it's I mean you know, uh, I mean the stuff is good for the soul because like when it puts you know makes you happy and you can feel you know like the impact or emotions and stuff as you're listening to it. So yeah, it's really it's thank God for the zikr because like we're living in a day and age like where it's really neat how God is given. I guess I hope I'm looking at this in the right way, but like we have more opportunities, I'd say, than the previous generations to perhaps strive in our growth, our souls in maybe some ways. Because the amount of ways we could think about God, make God our God, and do these things. I mean, maybe it's all equal, you know. It's just different today.
Yeah,
MashaAllah.
mashallah, thank you so much. It really helps me appreciate too, you know, when I attempt to listen to anything else, you know, like any music on my playlist or like, you know, like for example, yesterday was New Year's Eve and I tried to listen to like any of the DJ mixes and stuff like, and you just when you compare us, I mean, you're like, wow, I mean, like, you know, it's like you can't find anything enjoyable in sense anymore. Like everything is
Alhamdulillah.
meaningless and all the lyrics and everything else. I mean, it's like these people are completely, out of sync with reality. In other words, So, like the reality around us with God and everything else, I mean, they're just stuck in an illusion.
Yeah,
And it helps us bring us out of that, keep us away from that. So, mashallah, that's pretty neat, I think. And
yeah,
thank you again. Um, Also, it was funny when you were reading about God is running everything, and with the verses about whether you everything in accordance with God's will, right? So somehow I recently ran into the online discussion about circumcision, and there was this one particular piece. While you were reading, I got distracted, and my head was stuck in that conversation. Playing it over and over in my head, and it was about this guy, in San Jose, who was attacking me, and he was, trying to. I don't know what he was. He was trying to divert attention from what his wife had said on the group, and just trying to distract the whole conversation by trying to make it about me and trying to make it about terrorism, like me being a Taliban or something like that, and just making fun of my name and everything else. And he told me, he's like, terrorist, imdad, it's like, is that what they taught you in the Taliban school, ha ha ha, whatever, something like that, And I remember responding back to him, I said, you're the one who's chopping innocent baby penises, how does that make me a Taliban, Evil Ahmad,
yeah.
And and when I said the chopping penises, that's when you said whether you chop a tree or leave it standing, it's in accordance with God's will.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's that's funny. He tried using that. That's interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, everything is really in accordance with God's will, and actually, this is a good reminder for us because we see things happen in the world, and it's very easy for people to, God says the human beings believe only what they see in front of themselves, and then they see all these people, let's say like rich people or influential people, and they think they're doing this and they're doing that, or they're controlling the world or whatnot, But we understand that God is the one who is controlling everything, and everything is in accordance with His will. And recently, I came across this conversation online where people were praising Elon Musk and stuff, about his becoming, $500 billion net worth and stuff, and praising him as genius and all this stuff. And it reminded me, yeah, of course, also partly because of the fact that I've been listening to the music as well recently, I was thinking, I don't know, he's not doing anything. You think he's doing something, but God is the one who's doing everything. He's not a genius. I mean, they're talking about,
Exactly.
him building a tunnel to the earth and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, God is the one who's the source of all inspiration, all ideas, He's the one who's doing it. We're not doing anything at all. Nothing. We think we're doing, we don't even control a single neuron in our brain and tell it to go to connect to the other one. We don't know where it is.
Alhamdulillah, yeah.
God is the one who's doing everything. So, mashallah, this is a good reminder. But, all these verses that we read today, they show us how God is in charge of the entire situation, including your enemies, including their perception of fear and, courage and all of those things, and how that can change the outcome of things. We think other people have the power to make decisions, and once we understand who is really in charge, how God is the one who is supreme over all creatures, that fear that a lot of us have about people and things and situations, I think, will subside greatly. We don't have to be afraid of our surroundings or afraid of people. God says that the believers are fearless. So when we come back to that mindset and understand that God is the only one who is in full control, that's when the messenger, for example, talks about it, calling it the, the, what is it called? The um, ultimate freedom, right? Where you don't submit to anyone else. You're not answerable to anyone else except God. Your only boss, your only manager, your only Lord. You're everything. Only one you're accountable to is God. You don't have to be a servant to the entire world. I mean, even if you look at it now, the president of the United States, who is considered the most powerful person in the world, is still serving pretty much, more people than you and I ever have. Like people trying to please other people. If you look at celebrities, they're trying to keep their image. They're trying to keep people happy. Same as these people. Even kings are afraid of losing their kingship and everything. But someone who submits and recognizes God. Like people use a bad expression for that. I'm not going to use that expression. But they don't give any care about anything, other than God.
Yeah,
obviously we have to make sure. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? So, we have to remember that God is the one, and we have to care about. So, mashallah, praise be to God.
Subhanallah, brother, and they're going through all of this, because they have forgotten. They forgot God, how God says in the Quran, so God made them forget themselves. That's the reason why, like you were explaining how, they always want to please other people and stuff like that. And the situation they are in is because, God is not in their mind. They're not thinking about God all the time. They don't have that thought, that God is running everything, and, like God says in the Quran, they forgot God. So God made them forget themselves. Subhanallah is so true. And yeah, I'm not sure if you were referring I'm not sure if I should have called people stupid or if I made a mistake for saying that.
No, stupid is fine. I mean, the messenger talks about the word stupid. He says, people who fail to commemorate God on the night of destiny, he says the way we are commemorating now are unjust and stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, so being stupid is not a good thing, obviously, but using the word to describe a situation or a person, if it's stupid, it's not a bad word.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Question from YouTube comments: what was the first Qibla of the Muslims?
Yeah, so we want to talk about the verses we read, and then, God willing, after that we can talk about off-topic questions.
Yeah, sounds good, brother. Yeah, I wanted to also talk about like God is running everything, and something you said too. How these people, they're trying to please other people essentially because looking at it from the perspective of before I was a submitter. When I was really stupid. I was just thinking about some of these things today when I was coming back or flying back. But thank God for His mercy. But just like reflecting on this stuff, and it makes sense because they're trying to appease these people because they don't believe in God and that God is running everything, and so naturally they're going to think that this person or all this country full of people can vote for me, or like the example you were talking about, Suleiman, or even on a small scale, if you're trying to please somebody. Essentially, it's because you think this person can help you or benefit you in some type of way, and it's essentially kind of like you said. It's always like the messenger said, it's the highest form of freedom because then you know that nobody's doing anything despite how it seems, and it's because then you realize God is even like you're talking to somebody and you're hearing words come out their mouth, but then you realize God is doing it. God is controlling that. He's controlling the vocal cords. He's controlling, like you said, the neurons and stuff that are firing off messages. I mean, he's aware of even the things we don't see too. I mean, God be glorified. So, like the invisible. So, it's yeah, alhamdulillah, may God continue to help us. And yeah, I noticed the same thing, brother. Like I know I said I've been seeking refuge a lot too, but I think since it started about, I think the day I was like been listening to the album too, I noticed the same thing. Like other music it doesn't like mean anything, and then you're just kind of I mean, I think it has to be your soul is benefiting from this, and I mean, alhamdulillah, some really good songs and stuff, that they're good when it can make you like emotional and stuff, so thank God.
SubhanAllah, but it's a way of growing your soul, because it's like you're remembering God, through SubhanAllah. Thank God, through these beautiful songs, that are commemorating God, and it's very SubhanAllah makes you feel good, when you're listening to them, and you're not doing nothing, you just put the song, and it makes you feel good, because the whole song is remembering God. All the songs there is remembering God, and it's SubhanAllah, praise God for that.
Yeah, mashallah. Even when I was I think I was like, when songs get stuck in your head, it's like it's good, like, because it's I think I was thinking today as I was walking, and but yeah, I mean, I think this too is like all these things. I'm looking at this stuff. It's all part of the test. Like, how are we going to use our cell phones? Like, so many people completely neglect themselves, and I mean, like, they use their cell phones, let's say, to earn illicit gains, or they use it to conspire and commit sin, like the verses we read today. Verses, it's like how God says is the good and the bad aren't the same, so there's so much opportunities for us to use these blessings and stuff, and it's a test in a way too, I think, how we're going to spend our time and stuff, and that's why it's so important too, like the verses. I think it was a verse about choosing your friends, and the end of verse 58, verse 22, about running for your life, so when you're around fellow submitters, believers, and people who support God, support the truth, this only feeds, this goodness is fed off of each other, versus other people, like, think of them like the people that we're supposed to run away from. They're like spoiled fruit, so we don't want to, God is letting us know that we shouldn't be around spoiled people, for our own good.
MashaAllah, true, brother. Like you were saying, that some people probably think like, I'm strong enough, like they won't rub off on me. But SubhanAllah, God is putting these verses in the Quran because that's not true. We're not strong enough, and we must follow the commandments that the Quran has given us. And if God is saying this, then we must submit to it and follow it. They are the people that think this way. They're deceiving themselves.
Yeah, I think we can stop sharing the screen. Probably just taking away bandwidth.
Okay.
Okay, mashallah. Yeah, so, um, yeah, I think this is an important. Sorry, I got disconnected in the middle of it. But so this is an important subject about choosing our friends carefully and not befriending the hypocrites. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, I think, in the past, but we see that there are people that you warn and they still, because they're evil people, they will not listen to you and eventually end up with the evil people, but this is a good reminder for us that if it wasn't important, obviously God wouldn't mention it in the Quran, and we wouldn't have to worry about it, right? And of course, God is the one who protects us, but we have to follow God's law in order to attain that protection from God. So these are always, something that I think we should be reminded we should be reminded of, to remember that human beings can easily be misled by just bad company, how we rub off on each other, it's not even funny. And the other thing, I think we can probably answer the question from the brother regarding the Qibla, right? So we understand that the Quran the Quran is the final testament that was given to Muhammad, but the religion of submission was given to Abraham, and God taught him everything in terms of the religious practice of our religion, and he established the Kaaba, right? And so that was where we started to pray, and that is the Qibla that was the first and the last Qibla of the submitters. I'm trying to. I just read the comment from Brother Mardani about Afghanistan. I'm just curious, like, what was that in reference to? Okay, maybe that was in reference to the Taliban.
I think, yeah, the Taliban. Or Taliban.
Okay. Yeah, no, the funny thing is that the guy who called me the Taliban, he was also from Pakistan, So, yeah. And it was obvious that, obviously, like, I pointed something out, like, which was just hurting them a lot, so they're just trying to distract people from reading those things and trying to, divert the attention away from that, because his wife had said certain very mean things, and it exposed her immediately, because she always tried to do it in a very passive aggressive manner, like attacking people and stuff. And this time, like, she lost her cool and she started insulting and questioning, like, in a bad way. And I highlighted it in that post and was happy that she was exposed in that way. And then he jumped in and he tried to cover it up by just saying nonsense, like, hey, you support the Taliban and this and that, and terrorist activities and all that stuff. Weird. It's interesting. Call themselves submitters and just stoop to such levels, of ignorance.
Yeah, brother, very cringe and like you said, weird. Like, where do they even get these ideas in their head? Like, do they have any proof? Like, they're just rambling and
Yeah.
saying crazy things.
Yeah. Yeah, brother. Maybe it's yeah. Why is that? I'm looking at Brother Madani. He says people resort to insults. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, God is fully aware of their utterances, so we shouldn't worry. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe laughing at it is like, haha, it's like cathartic release, but yeah, it's very insulting and demeaning because, like, if you're preaching a good message and someone slanders you, and people are witness to that, they're gonna possibly throw out the baby with the bathwater. But everything is in accordance with God's will, so that's why it's good to always investigate. Like, what is this person teaching? What's this submission? You know. But that's what I was meaning earlier in the study. Yeah, it's good to laugh at them. You know, I mean, they're evil people. But yeah, I mean, just imagine these people that are that have done these things and made a name, such an evil name for themselves, and you know, and, the examples like they've set, like all the innovations, and you know, because I mean, it's I mean, you see how familiar, especially Western society, is with these groups and stuff. I just heard someone talking today. I think they were like, I overheard a conversation about a flag or something. I'm like, you know, people are really gullible too, like in the sense, like they just believe everything that's on the news and what the government's telling to them, but they're not investigating this stuff, like how the most dangerous terrorists are going to be the domestic terrorists that are not quote unquote Taliban or Al Qaeda or ISIS, you know. But anyway, I mean, nothing to worry about. God's running everything. So, yeah, I mean, if you're striving in the cause of God, Brother Mardini, you know, it's like the verse says, you know, we can you don't go without, I think, if you remember the verse, but there's not a credit that's not written down for you. You know, when this stuff is when you're slandered like that. You know, oh, the irony. I'm sorry for laughing. Okay, I was thinking it was like white people. I was like, man, why are white people? But okay, yeah, that makes it even more interestingly.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. You know, they're probably the ones that are like, yeah, he's cool. Yeah, I mean, thank God. I mean, like, just, you know, so many people, I mean, white, black, blue, you know, I mean, everybody's waking up, you know, like I mean, there's a revolution, you know, that's happening, and people are not, like, I mean, like we talked about it before, but people are investigating. Like, oh, what's this Quran? Like, I mean, a perfect example is my own dad. I mean, we grew up. I mean, just because we're talking about this, I'll just put this out there. I mean, we watched 24, which was like out in the early 2000s. I don't know if Suleiman, you remember that, but it was like the Fox. It was like the biggest TV series show for several years on Fox, and it was all about the U.S. government going after these terrorists, and then you find out the real I mean, in the show, and then you realize too that the people behind the show, John McCain was on the sets of some of these. You know, it's a propaganda to desensitize people to like torture and other things. But besides the point, you can see how they're trying to label. I mean, Satan's behind this too. How they're trying to scare people, but I mean, alhamdulillah, God's running everything. So, like, yeah, my dad, like, investigated, like, because he was like, well, what is this about, you know? So, essentially, their slandering of the truth and the message backfires. Kind of like the example you had given, brother, I think, your wife, Huda, how she came across the message because someone was bad-mouthing Rashad Khalifa. And I literally brought them the message. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like the verse, you know, they're scheming, you know, but God causes their schemes to backfire. But yeah,
Right.
but
Uh,
that's good, you know, like the people that are
yeah.
scheming, you know.
Yeah, and how people were trying to badmouth me on that group with circumcision, and that's where I met with her, you know. So
Yeah, exactly. It was funny because you remember you told me like they thought they didn't think it or something was real or something like that.
yeah, they thought it was me pretending to be a girl talking to myself.
Yeah, they were probably like, yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I mean, God's running everything, you know. So these people, uh, I mean, imagine like all these people that are. I mean, it should really be apparent for people for, you know. I mean, this practice is. I mean, all the proof is there, but I mean, imagine fighting so hard against something that is fighting for. But I mean, alhamdulillah. I mean, uh, you know, these credits are written down for you. You know,
Hmm. Alhamdulillah, thank
because
God, you know.
having to go through that stuff and then being, you know, it's the same thing. Like I mean, we see at the time of the messenger, at the time of all
Hmm.
the prophets and messengers, like you know how the submitters are come under attack. You know, even from within the you know yeah Mardini, you're right. Even from these extreme hypocrites. And yeah, I like the word extreme hypocrites because they're like the submitter hypocrites. I guess would be the extreme ones because they're like in the last study, they're the most dangerous ones. You know, because you you think you're you know found like the chest of rubies and sapphires and stuff, and they tell you it's in there. Or they even show you a picture, but like figuratively speaking, inside that chest is nothing. You know, or it's just like vomit. You know, it's like gonna lead you to hell, and that's more deceptive and it's worse. You know, than like someone
Yeah.
just you know. That's I think that's like kind of how I understand it to be so bad. Is
Hmm.
you really think,
Yeah, I
oh
mean,
man, this is the you know.
yeah, exactly. I mean, those are hypocrites in the true sense of the word among submission, like how the messenger says, you know, they sit among the believers. We consider them our brothers and sisters, and then they go ahead and they spread poison stouts. You know.
I mean, too, like even I mean, it's crazy, like how they're advocating for such evil things that are happening in the Middle East with the Zionists and you
So,
know horrible war crimes,
mm,
and then you present proof to them, and they just turn like the Quran says they turn deaf, dumb, and blind. Like they just conspiracy, oh it's not real, and it's just I think it's just a way for them to cope with being confronted with the
mm,
truth, because like you know, you want to be amicable with these people and show them, unless they, you know, they could be saved. But I mean, because literally, it's like I mean, it was verses I was reading earlier. I was thinking about it. I mean, people come across the message and they see, oh wait, is this what it means? Submitters advocate for this type of behavior, like butchering of. I mean, sorry to be morbid, but it has to be said. I mean, butchering of children, horrible
mm,
things. Just use your imagination. And I mean, so yeah, this is why they're the most evil people, because they don't see, you know, they set the worst example.
yeah. Yeah, subhanAllah. Also, on another note, like we got more proofs today about the Apophis, with the brother saying from Ireland. I mean, some of the things he found out after I told him, you know, because he is a mixed breed, and I mean, I'm saying breed like he's a dog, but I mean, his even though like he lives in Lebanon or live was born in Lebanon, like he has mixed blood and stuff, you know. So he doesn't mind when we talk about the Arabs being hypocrites and stuff. And when I first talked about the smoke previously, before the Apophis stuff, you know, when the Israel and Palestinian stuff was, you know, heating up, like I talked about the Arabs, and he actually liked it, and he told me that he wasn't like fully Arab too. but now because of the war, he left Lebanon. So when I told him about the smoke coming, he was actually very happy. But he even found more stuff than that we shared just between yesterday and today. He started looking at all this stuff too. Now it's just so much more obvious. Like every day it's become more and more obvious. But now we've got, mashallah, we got so many proofs. Like it even feels like, there can't be any more proofs.
Yeah, I
But
mean, all the parameters are there because if you think like,
yeah,
if let's just say it wasn't this one and it was
uh
another
huh,
one that was gonna come, I don't know how it would be able to match up. Like, because it would have to be discovered in Tucson. I mean, to be on the Friday the 13th, like the very
mm-hmm.
ominous holiday. Uh,
uh,
I heard you say though it's a Western thing. Is that true? Like y'all haven't.
the Friday, yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I guess yeah, because yeah, it's very real. Like people, everybody, you talk about Friday. Like I
yeah,
mean, even teachers and stuff, they're always like make jokes like, oh, it's Friday the 13th
yeah,
years ago.
yeah,
Random people, but yeah, it's like all in accordance with God's will. I mean, just that
hmm,
aspect. I mean, the dates and then yeah,
yeah.
the new thing he
I mean, now
found. I
we
think
got the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say yeah, I think it was. I'm looking at it now. It was a gross value or sorry, gross value. I'm
Natural
thinking of
value.
like mathematical or accounting terms. GV
Yeah,
to
yeah.
so the death the date of the messenger's departure, the falling, the impact date, uh, or the date of Apophis, geometrical value of Rashad Khalif or Rashad, and then the days between both dates, and then the geometrical value of Apophis, and that is
Hmm,
uh, 19 times 851,000, and it's 8 digits long. Subhanallah.
hmm, yeah. And then also the side by side geometrical value of Apophis being a multiple of 19,
Yeah, yeah, that
Like,
too. That one that was when you wrote, I think
yeah,
was it 126801060.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
too.
That blew
That's
me
huge,
away.
man. That one that you shared. What was it
Yeah.
yesterday?
Yes, yes,
I mean,
yes.
plus it's and it's Egyptian name too. I mean, I have all this. I need to finish compiling this stuff, God willing. But yeah, I need to have that
Hmm, yeah.
note stuff done and made into an article. Or ChatGPT will compile it for me.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, Salam Alaikum Mardini. H. Mardini.
Brother Suleiman, so what was the last calculation that you put that said not a multiple of 19? What was that?
Sorry, your voice was breaking up. Can you repeat that?
Remember you had posted a picture and it
Yeah.
said not a multiple of 19?
Oh, not a multiple of 19?
I think the last picture you posted.
The last one I posted is a multiple of 19. Right? The long number
Okay.
that John was talking about, right? Brother Salim, that was the one who Salim posted.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the one I posted at 1219? I mean, the one about Apophis's geometrical value?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is a
yeah.
multiple of 19. Yeah, that is, but it's the geometrical value collectively, if you add the geometrical value of every letter together, that's not a multiple. But if
Oh, okay.
you put a geometrical value of each digit side by side, that long number is a multiple of 19.
Oh, okay. Okay, brother. Probably gonna. Okay, okay. Yeah.
Like every letter has its geometrical value, right? So instead of
Mm-hmm.
adding them, you are putting them side by side
Okay,
next to
so
each.
when you put them side by side, it's a multiple of 19.
It's a multiple of 19,
But
yeah.
if you add
But
them, it's not.
yeah, but the total geometrical value itself, 159, is part of another proof, which the
Subhanallah,
long
I
number
understand
that
that.
Brother Salim had shared.
Yeah. Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
brother. The
yeah.
clarification. Also, brother, it's kind of odd how they named the Apophis. Like it's a name of Egyptian, some type of pagan god, right?
Yeah, god of destruction, Egyptian god of destruction. Uh, yeah, God controls everything, so.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
was
how.
thinking that too. And then if you look at the 99942, the Apophis number,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
I was looking at it, and I mean, you see this like, and they think they're so cool. These uh, people are in these wannabe secret societies. I mean, yeah, they are secret, but like if you look at it, if you reverse it or flip it upside down, it's 66642, and they do. I mean, you see this like with these Fortune 500 companies. The Starbucks is a Baphomet upside down. I mean, these little hidden. You look into symbolism and stuff, and I was looking at that, and I was like, I wonder who came up with the name, or excuse me, the number. And so I think that too is like an ominous sign, or like they're trying to
Mhm.
see, they get off on like doing that little, leaving those innuendos and those symbolism. I mean, we can see a lot of like the monster
Mhm.
labels. I mean, there's so many to name. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I didn't do any math things for that. But I was just wondering. I'm like, cause
I think we did some, no?
no, 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 yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, for the 99942.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was talking about like the 66642, or
Oh.
but I
Okay.
mean, even if like the Hebrew, I'm wondering if you turn the 4 and the 2 upside down with the 666, you're gonna see because if you do that with like a fair bit of other these huge corporate company logos, Pfizer's, if you look at, I've seen something with the Pfizer, the big pharmaceutical conglomerate. But I mean, not that that matters. But I just thought it was like, I
Yeah.
was looking at, I was like, why is it 99942? It's like, oh, if you turn it upside down,
Mhm.
it's. But yeah,
Right.
I was kind of thinking, I was like, oh, like maybe it has something to do with like their whole, like they know it's, or the few
Yeah.
people know that it's coming. It's like given such a name or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but I mean, yeah. Yeah, the thing that surprises me um, is how God has this plan of letting this thing hit the earth, because with today's technology, if we wanted to, this would not happen. And I mean, more than likely, it will not happen again, right? Because of the technology that we have. But God is allowing this one to come through for whatever, monetary gains that people think that they're going to get out of this, and because of that reason, and it's not being talked about as much as it should be talked about. Because if it was talked about, imagine all of those Arabs, those wealthy Arabs, would have taken a space flight on that day, knowing that was going to hit, right? All these people would take off into space on the day the Apophis would hit, or go somewhere else, another part of the world, at least to the U.S. and other places, so that they don't get annihilated. There'll be a mass immigration on that day, or around that date, and the Arabs would not be annihilated. But it's part of God's plan to make it obvious, but still let it be hidden from these people.
Yeah, I was
You
thinking
know.
too, like, what if? I mean, I'm sure they might have some observatories, but for the people that, I mean, when it was discovered, I think I remember sharing with you. I don't know if I shared in the WhatsApp.
Uh-huh.
I was Roy, and then I forget the words, like it was a quoted. I don't remember where I was looking, but it's what they
Mhm.
were either said or what they were thinking amongst themselves, or what was said. It was like, oh,
Mhm.
you know what moment, fill in the blank
Mhm.
type. But that wasn't what they said, but it was like the that's
Mhm.
paraphrasing whatever they said. And I was like, man, for them to think like that, like it has to be pretty darn. Uh, but yeah, I've even thought like the same thing with these Arabs. Like they're maybe kept in the dark from, or maybe they're just being lied to. Be like, no, it's not going to hit.
Well, of course. I mean,
I
they're
mean,
all
they
being
could
lied
probably
to.
figure out. I mean, if they had like people to go to these observatories, they could hire, even if they don't have like special ones. I mean, they could. They could have a lot of disinfo too from these globalists amongst each other, trying to like, no, let's keep them in the dark, or for whatever
Mhm.
reason, like, or let's convince them that. I mean, they're very scheming in that regard amongst themselves. I mean, just like
Mhm.
the Ashkenazis and the Bolshevik Jews to fight amongst themselves, but they agree to at least think. I mean, they think they're in power. They're not doing anything. But yeah, I mean, like the verses today. I mean, it's very comforting and
Mhm.
freeing that these people have no power. They're just like these wicked people. I mean, they're just like ragdolls in a sense. Like they're signed up for a position and they're being, I guess, acting it out, or being. I mean, everything's recorded what they're doing. But I mean, we also know too the Arabs are, like they're very arrogant. Um,
Mhm.
like what the Quran says, like the biggest. So maybe they're like could be like, how like some people could be so stubborn and hard headed. Like, well, no, even if it's, I'm gonna be saved or I'm gonna build this. Or they're just not
Mhm.
gonna. Like some people are like, look, a hurricane's coming. Like, no, I'm gonna wait it out. Like, I'm gonna. That could
Mhm.
also be because they're extremely arrogant and then their pride won't let them. But also,
Mhm.
like you were saying too, like
Mhm.
they're prevented from somehow
Yeah,
not
like
getting.
just like just like Noah's son, he was destined to be
Yeah, you know
annihilated.
what? I just, that's a good example. Wow,
Yeah.
that's probably, what? That's a good, yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Also, that they're so far away from the message. They ridiculed when the messenger was giving them the
Mhm.
message. They ridiculed him, and
Yeah,
they believe.
yeah, they're laughing.
Hmm.
They're laughing at still ridiculing the smoke prophecy,
Hmm.
because I remember I mean, I don't know if it was Arabs or not, but there's people out online that are still mocking him over the smoke prophecy. And I recently, saw this message on YouTube where this guy was saying, "Oh, you believe him?" And he said this thing about the smoke, and it never happened, and you still follow him and all this stuff, like you still are submitters following submission. He was a liar and all that stuff. Like they were, saying all these things. So remember, I posted that comment recently in our WhatsApp group from this guy, and I said that I would like to meet him,
Hmm.
or
Yeah,
like to
Yeah,
see it.
brother, I
he who
remember.
laughs last laughs best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean other comments too, on other subjects as well that I've seen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, someone made a comment says,
like that.
"Brother Justin, please fix your mic. It hurts in ears."
Oh yeah, it hurts in ears. I think you meant to say it hurts our ears. Yeah, it was kind of funny the way he said
Yeah.
it. It hurts in the ears.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to look for this comment this guy made.
I have to do my prayer soon. I think.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely we have a lot of proofs now. We got to put them together. We don't want to lose any of them. Mashallah. I mean, these are really amazing. Mashallah.
Yeah, I've been screenshotting them and I've been sending them to myself. I think
Mm-hmm.
almost since day one. Like I have an album, I think, on my phone,
Uh-huh.
so it's been kind
Oh,
of
mashallah.
expediting the process of my notes. But I'm gonna go
That's great.
rewatch your sermon and then
Uh,
gather all the parts that and even general information. You know, like with the
uh-huh.
Tucson Friday the 13th, the dates.
I can send you. Yeah, I can send you the PowerPoint if I find it. Also, I hope I still have it because sometimes I create PowerPoints and they get deleted,
Oh,
or if I forget to save them.
uh-huh. Yeah, if you made it
Yeah.
on Google Slides or something, I think they get saved. But
Uh,
unless,
yeah, I made it on Keynote. I
oh, okay.
usually don't use Google Slides, but um, I hope I still have it because I think I do have it at least as a PowerPoint. Because at some point I did think I did post it on Google to translate it in Arabic.
Hmm.
Um, so I should have it somewhere.
Yeah, and if you think about it too, it's like the mathematical miracle is the inviolable proof that we know this was God's messenger, the covenant, and that this prophecy is going to happen. But like you had said, and I kind of wondered the same thing. I'm like, man, are we going to be able to see this in our lifetime? And then
Hmm.
right around, it's getting close to within that time framework that was mentioned by the messenger of the covenant. It's like this is perfect timing, and I mean, and then plus it's good because it's going to also prove. I mean, when people begin to look at this stuff, and I mean, uh, like I mean, it has his mark on it too. I mean, Tucson, Arizona, like how more. I mean, just in all the other
Hmm.
mathematical proofs, because there's only so many things you can. I mean, there's a few parameters for this, which makes it extremely difficult
Hmm.
for it to produce in a
Hmm.
multiple of 19, especially in the correlation like what we've been seeing. And it's
Hmm.
like, God is showing us these things, and uh, what a marvelous way to be able to look at these things and increase in our uh, you know because it's like it's also it confirms the truth in the Quran how God will save. I mean, of course, we have to act, like Noah had to build the ark and stuff. So,
Hmm.
we know we can't just, God's running everything and just wait for like a pile of cash to fall off the sky. I think the messenger gave a like funny or silly example, like someone was laying down and like, no, it's like, oh, I don't need to go, do anything. God's running everything, like.
Hmm.
But yeah, like in the sense where, preparing and stuff. We
Hmm.
know in the Quran God supports those who submitted and will inform them, you know, and let them know,
Hmm.
So it's God never breaks His promise, like we're told, and yeah, it's something to be, uh, grateful for. I mean, in the same way, I mean, we have like so many good precedents in the Quran. How people who took these things seriously saw signs, and listened, believed in the messengers and what the messengers were
Hmm.
bringing to people of Shuaib and people of the woods and stuff. And
Hmm.
like, man, if I was around the time of Shuaib, I would like immediately partner up with or one of them and then like get the heck out of the town. Like before it was
Yeah.
coming, or I would just stick right by their side and follow them like a dog, like a
Hmm.
puppy or something, because I know wherever they're going to be is
Hmm.
not going to be where these. So I mean the
Hmm.
same, is in a sense where we can prepare and with the resources God gives us. May God help us, make it easy for us.
Yeah, inshallah. Yeah, may God protect us from all of this and um, not let us be affected in any way. All right. Yeah, I guess so. If there are other comments or questions, we can address them. If not, then maybe we can conclude our study. Mashallah. So thank you, Brother John, for leading the study. And thank you, everyone else, for joining. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. God bless you guys. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.